Tonight, President Obama's goal was simple: to explain to a public skeptical about the war he's launched in Libya
what we've done, what we plan to do, and why this matters to us.
It has been 10 days since Mr. Obama ordered U.S. forces into combat in Libya. Nearly 200 Tomahawk cruise missiles launched, more than 1,600 airstrikes. And so the challenge for the president: justify this war and show Americans that the U.S. role really will be brief and limited.
The United States and the world faced a choice. Gaddafi declared he would show no mercy to his own people. He compared them to rats and threatened to go door to door to inflict punishment.
It was Muammar Gaddafi, Obama said, who was the main reason for war. He was about to launch a massacre of his own people.
It was not in our national interest to let that happen. I refused to let that happen.
And so the attack began. One question has hovered over this mission: how is it in the strategic interests of the United States to go to war in Libya?
It wasn't. On October 20th, 2011, Muammar Gaddafi, president of Libya, was captured and killed after the Battle of Sirte. Gaddafi was found west of Sirte after his convoys were attacked by NATO aircraft. He was then captured by the National Transitional Council and was killed shortly afterwards. The National Transitional Council initially claimed Gaddafi died from injuries sustained in a shootout when loyalist forces attempted to free him after a graphic video of his last moments show rebel fighters beating him and one of them sodomizing him with a bayonet before he was shot several times. The killing of Muammar Gaddafi was criticized as a violation of international law. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch called for an independent autopsy and an investigation into how Gaddafi died. But that didn't stop Obama's Secretary of State from going to CBS and making this statement.
So, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, oh, I'm sure it did.
In this video, I will be reading from the Hillary Clinton email archive released by WikiLeaks. These emails show that the Department of State led weeks and months before the invasion of Libya that the United States wanted to depose forcibly the president of Libya, Muammar Gaddafi, from power, which led to a 10-year civil war in the country, where before there were no Islamist problems. Now there are open-air slave markets where jihadists behead their rivals and sell children and women as slaves. These emails were released shortly thereafterwards to show that the Obama White House, led by Hillary Clinton, wanted to depose Muammar Gaddafi and replace him with a transitional council that was Western supported. The email I will provide in the description is entitled "Tick-Tock on Libya." In an email dated August 21st, 2011, Jake Sullivan to Cheryl Newland, the same Victoria Newland, involved with the Ukraine crisis. Secretary Clinton's leadership on Libya. Hillary Clinton has been a crucial voice on Libya in administration deliberations at NATO and in contact group. August 21st, 2011. February 21st, 25th, 2011, Hillary Clinton announces the suspension of operations of the Libyan embassy in Washington. February 26, 2011, Hillary Clinton directs efforts to evacuate all U.S. Embassy personnel from Tripoli and orders the closing of the embassy. February 26, 2011, Hillary Clinton made a series of calls to her counterparts to help secure passage of UNSC 1970, which imposes sanctions on Gaddafi and his family and refers Gaddafi and his cronies to the International Criminal Courts. February 28, 2011, Hillary Clinton travels to Geneva, Switzerland for consultations with European partners on Libya. She gives a major address in which she says Colonel Gaddafi and those around him must be held accountable for these acts, which violate international legal obligations and common decency. Through their actions, they have lost the legitimacy to govern, and the people of Libya have made themselves clear. It is time for Gaddafi to go. And it didn't stop there. In early March of 2011, Hillary Clinton appoints Special Envoy Chris Stevens to be the U.S. representative to Benghazi. On March 14, 2011, Hillary Clinton travels to Paris for the G8 Foreign Ministers meeting. She meets with the Transitional National Council representative Jabril, consults with her colleagues on further United Nations Security Council action. She notes that a no-fly zone will not be adequate. Between March 14th to 16th, Hillary Clinton participates in a series of high-level video and teleconferences. She is a leading voice for the strong United Nations Security Council action and a NATO civilian protection mission. March 17, 2011, Hillary Clinton secures Russian abstention and Portuguese and African support for United Nations Security Council 1973, ensuring that it passes. UNSC 1973 authorizes a no-fly zone over Libya and all necessary measures, code for military action to protect civilians against Gaddafi's army. March 24, 2011, Hillary Clinton engages with allies and secures the transition of command and control of the civilian protection mission to NATO. She announces the transition in a statement. March 18th to 30th, 2011, Hillary Clinton engages with the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Jordan to seek their participation in coalition operations. Over the course of several days, all three devote aircraft to the mission. March 19, 2011, Hillary Clinton travels to Paris to meet with European and Arab leaders to prepare for military action to protect civilians. That night, the first U.S. airstrikes halt the advance of Gaddafi's forces on Benghazi and target Libya's air defenses. March 29, 2011, Hillary Clinton travels to London for a conference on Libya, where she is a driving force behind the creation of a contact group comprising of 20-plus countries to coordinate efforts to protect civilians and plan for a post-Gaddafi Libya. She is instrumental in setting up a rotator chair system to ensure regional buy-in. With the Gulf now involved and the United States making sure that Gaddafi would no longer defend himself against the invasion of these coalition forces. You could see how Islamists in this country and foreign Arab jihadists went into the country without a national defense and try and take over the country to form a caliphate. May 5th, 2011, Hillary Clinton travels to Rome for a contact group meeting. The contact group establishes a coordination system and a temporary financial mechanism to funnel money to the Transitional National Council. June 8, 2011, Hillary Clinton travels to Abu Dhabi for another contact group meeting and holds a series of intense discussions with rebel leaders. In other words, jihadists. June 12, 2011, Hillary Clinton travels to Addis for consultations and a speech before the African Union, pressing the case for a democratic transition in Libya. July 15, 2011, Hillary Clinton travels to Istanbul and announces that the United States recognizes the Transitional National Council as the legitimate government of Libya. She also secures recognition from the other members of the contact group. Late June 2011, Hillary Clinton meets with the House Democrats and Senate Republicans to persuade them not to defund the Libyan operation. July 16th, 2011, Hillary Clinton sends Fetzman, Kretz, and Kolik to Tunis to meet with Gaddafi envoys to deliver a clear and firm message that the only way to move forward is for Gaddafi to step down. Early August 2011, Hillary Clinton works to construct a $1.5 billion assets package to be approved by the Security Council and sent to the Transitional National Council. That package is working through its last hurdles. Early August 2011, Hillary Clinton secures written pledges from the Transitional National Council to an inclusive, pluralistic, democratic transition. She continues to consult with European and Arab colleagues on the evolving situation. However, after the forced deposition of Muammar Gaddafi, many people, including Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the International Criminal Courts, disagreed with the forced deposition of Gaddafi and considered it a war crime. When it comes to the Libyan intervention, which was neither lawful nor successful, according to Patrick C.R. Terry of the Comparative and International Law Journal of Southern Africa, in which he wrote, the intervention in Libya in 2011 was claimed to have been a triumph in two respects. On the one hand, the UN Security Council, by passing resolutions 1970 and 1973, had demonstrated its ability to react to humanitarian crises without any of the 5 permanent members of the Council resorting to a veto. On the other hand, the concept of humanitarian intervention in its more recent guise of the responsibility to protect was seen by some as having finally gained recognition within the international community as a legal concept. More than 3 years after the intervention, it will be argued here that such optimistic claims were premature. It will be shown that the way a coalition of NATO and other states implemented Resolution 1973 was not in accordance with that resolution and therefore violated international law. As a direct consequence of this, the Security Council has now reverted to its former paralysis as Russia and China are understandably no longer willing to grant NATO states a mandate for action. This has been most evident in respects of the war in Syria. Moreover, developments in Libya since the intervention have done more to discredit the concept of the responsibility to protect than any criticism from an international law perspective possibly could. And if one ever needs to have a clear look at past history when the United States gets involved in any foreign country, it usually leads to death and destruction, which always leads to a constant fight with militants and insurgent groups, which lead to the further debasement and destruction of that country.